Hello there. This is Heirs to the Kingdom channel. And today's lesson we're doing chapter 14 of Jeremiah. If you are new to this is a Bible study channel where I go through the King James Bible in order. I don't skip anything as God commands. If you don't know the Bible that well, I do recommend starting off in Genesis chapter 1 and getting caught up. Quite a bit to go through. It helps you understand where we're at today in the lesson. And so the title of this lesson is called A Great Drought. Now, God already said that these things are coming and that for the people to get ready. And they did not adhere to his words. They adhered to false prophets giving them happy, happy, joy, joy. Tickling the ears, saying what they wanted to hear. Kind of like a lot of these mega churches. They say what the people want to hear, not what they need to hear. And God always says, be wary of those who tickle the ear. But a lot of people don't listen to that. Women do this a lot. They like to live in deception rather than in truth. Sad to say, but godly women don't. Godly women want truth. Worldly women want to think they're godly and live in a state of delusion. And it's just, look how they dress, look how they act, and look what they're wanting out of life. It's all delusion. I never understood it, how women think that they put all this makeup on and all this other gaudy stuff, these weird, horrible hairstyles, dressing like prostitutes and everything else, and they think they're beautiful because some girl says she is. And then you try to say, well, men don't like it. So, well, I do this for myself. It's like, no, you don't. Like I said, they like to live in a state of delusion. And the Israelites are no different at this time until the punishments come. Until the enemy is at the gate. Then they're screaming, God, 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 help, help, help. As most people do. Then they turn back to the Lord once the punishment is here. Now, like I said, in today's time, we don't deal with curses, but there are still punishments. So things like this can happen. Sometimes it happens because it just happens, and sometimes it happens for a purpose. Now, one of the reason why the Israelites are being cast out of the land is God had a commandment that every 7 years the land is to rest for 1 year, for the 7th year. And they didn't abide by that. This is why I think they go into captivity for 49 years, 7 times 7. Something like that is how it's, I remember a lesson about someone doing the math on that. So if you have 7 years, and it's, I think they owed like 7 years. Well, 7 times that they faltered against the commandment of the rest of rest for a year every 7 years. So it ended up being 49 years. Something like that they were in captivity. It might have been 11 years and been 77 years. 11 times so 77 years. But in my head, the 49 years is what's sticking. Because, well, it has to be somewhere in that ballpark, because there's some people that are taken into Babylon and then they come back and the temple has been destroyed. And the people that got there before them, we already talked about this, as I said, because that was in Isaiah, where they came back and started building the temple. The one slave, the one Israelite, found favor in the eyes of the Babylonian king, and he sent him back with his people, with some people and stuff, and with other people to work. and they built the temple, but it was like a shell of what it used to be. So other people came back and says, well, here's the temple, and they're all great about the temple, and other people are kind of like holding their head down a little bit, realizing that's like, it's a hard fact when you look at it. It's like, okay, our country's never going to be the same now. Like, this is what happens when you take any time of your life and abandon God and start doing things your way and following the world and false gods and idols and worshiping other things. That, a punishment can come, and it's like you may have had a great life, and God says, well, I'll forgive you if you turn back to me, but then it all happens, you turn back and come back, and all of a sudden, after the punishment's over, your life's not the same. It's, it's just a shell of what it once was, but, this is now going to be your new normal. Anyways, we done went through that part, but I said, like, the punishment has to happen. God already says the punishment is going to happen. Now, everybody disregarded Jeremiah and listened to all the other prophets that God was no longer speaking to because they prophesied falsely. So there's 22 verses in this chapter, so we're going to get straight on in here. Hope everybody's having a good Sunday. And so, chapter 14, verse 1. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth. I would have to say that, now for me, I would just say that's desolate earth, or dead earth, dearth. But that's how I would say it because, or drought of the earth. That's what's happening, is the land's becoming dead because without water there's no life. But the definition of it is a noun, and it means the lack of scarcity of something. It says, i.e., or for example, it could be described that, this area is having a dearth of jobs. Another way to look at it. So it's a scarcity in the land is what the word means. But I like my little version better, dead earth, which is also scarcity of life, which is what they're coming into. I said, God already says the land's going to be desolate, the beast in the field, the wild beast in the field and everything else have already moved on. They've left. They know it's coming. The birds have left. They already left prematurely of this, and no one's paying attention to what nature's doing. Why? Because they're too busy in their own sins, too busy in self-pleasure. They're not paying attention to what's going on. They're not paying attention to their surroundings. Let's continue on here, verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. Now, of course, the way this speaks, black into the ground just means dark. Could be the gates have, fallen. They're, just in the earth, whatever. Many ways that this could be taken when it's talking about that, but most of the time it just means that that they're no longer there. It's like it's like there's just nothing but a shadow now. The primary thing's gone. It says, or it's just like total darkness. Verse 3. And their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned with their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads. So remember, covering your head in these times for stuff like that means that you were adorning shame or mourning, stuff like that. This is why also the Bible talks about the woman is to adorn a head covering and the man isn't, because the man is supposed to be the light of the family. He's the one people look to. You don't go and talk to, if you're going to talk to the family, you talk to the head of the family. You don't talk to people with their heads covered. You talk to the one that's leading the way. And this is why it's also a commandment that women do these things. Of course, most people know whom a child is. But when you have adult people, you look for the one that is the leader. There was many reasons for covering of the heads. Mourning, shame, or like saying, I'm not worthy. Hiding yourself. Verse 4. Because the ground is chapped, for there was no rain in the earth. The plowmen were ashamed. They covered their heads. Yea, the hind also calved in the field, and forsook it, because there was no grass. Hind's one of those other animals. Verse 6. And the wild asses did stand in the high places, and snuffed up the wind like dragons. Their eyes did fail, because there was no grass. O Lord, though our iniquities testify against us. Now, of course, this is the people speaking. That's what Jeremiah is writing in his part here, that what the people would say, that he would hear the people say, or they said to him, and wanting him to speak for them to the Lord. Because that's what the prophets did. It's like the priests and the prophets, they were like the Holy Spirit we have today, where we have that, that internet connection between us and God. The people didn't have that. Only certain people, real prophets and the priest, honorable priest, had that. Anyways, continue on. Though our iniquities testify against us, do thou it for thy name's sake. For our backslidings are many, we have sinned against thee. O the hope of Israel, the Savior thereof in time of trouble, why shouldest thou be a stranger in the land, and as a wayfaring man that turneth aside to tarry for a night? So now, of course, these people that didn't want nothing to do with God, they want to mend their lives with that, says, so why you turned away? Why are you not in the land anymore? He said, through Jeremiah and others, mostly we're learning from Jeremiah. I'm pretty sure he said this, from others as well. Or maybe he told it to others and they didn't want to listen. But he said, "Hey, I'm leaving. I'm leaving by your side. I'm not going to protect you. These things are going to come to pass." It's like I would offer you grace and mercy, but you won't take it because you rather sin. But let's continue on here, verse 9. Why shouldest thou be as a man astonished, as a mighty man that cannot save? Yet thou, O Lord, art in the midst of us, and we are called by thy name. Leave us not. So, this sounds like a feminist woman here, where they're trying to do shame. As I said, people like to manipulate. They learn it from somewhere, and the only one to learn manipulation from is Satan himself. And shame is a good manipulator. Real men don't use this. Soy boy men do. And I said, like, feminists today, this pretty much is what we would call them today, would be feminist. They like to do the shame thing. It's like, hey, you get the idea here. It's like, they're trying to shame God to help and everything else, when now they're realizing what Jeremiah was telling them God was saying was true. And now it's like they're past the point of no return. It says now they just have to deal with this. Verse 10. Thus saith the Lord unto this people, thus have they loved to wander. They have not refrained their feet thereof. The Lord doth not accept them. He will now remember their iniquity and visit their sins. Then said the Lord unto me, pray not for this people for their good. When they fast, I will not hear their cry. And when they offer burnt offering and an oblation, I will not accept them, but I will consume them by the sword and by the famine and by the pestilence. Then said I, Ah, Lord God, behold, the prophets say unto them, Ye shall not see the sword, neither shall ye have famine, but I will give you assured peace in this place. Then the Lord said unto me, The prophets prophesy lies in my name. I sent them not, neither have I commanded them, neither spake unto them. They prophesy unto you a false vision and divination, and a thing of naught, and the deceit of their heart. Therefore thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that prophesy in my name, and I sent them not, yet they say, Sword and famine shall not be in this land. By sword and famine shall those prophets be consumed. And the people to whom they prophesy shall be cast out in the streets of Jerusalem because of the famine and the sword. And they shall have none to bury them, their wives, nor their sons, nor their daughters, for I will pour their wickedness upon them. Therefore thou shalt say this word unto them, Let mine eyes run down with tears night and day, and let them not cease. For the virgin daughter of my people is broken, with a great breach, with a very grievous blow. If I go forth into the field, then behold, the slain with the sword. And if I enter into the city, then behold them that are sick with famine. Yea, both the prophet and the priest go about into a land that they know not. Now, multiple times we've seen this part, we're talking about the virgin daughter of my people. And if you don't remember, when it speaks of it this way, it means the pureness of my people is broken. You know, there's been a great breach. And it's like it's very grievous. It's like, you know, because to follow the Lord, you must try to live a virtuous life the best you can. Under grace today, God knows we're going to fail at that because no one has ever been able to keep a virtuous life. But in a lot of other places, and other times, they didn't even try. They voluntarily gave up their virtue to follow after, whoredoms. That's how God looks at it. But let's continue on here. Last section. Hast thou utterly rejected Judah? Hath thy soul loathed Zion? Why hast thou smitten us? And there is no healing for us. We looked for peace, and there is no good. And for the time of healing, and behold, trouble. It's kind of hilarious to hear these people talk like this. That, hey, it's like, we've sought for this. We're seeking for peace. We're trying to make an atonement and stuff. Why aren't you accepting us? It's like, I already told you why. And it finally starts to sink in here. So a lot of people have to understand this even in today's time. There are areas where you can go past the point of no return. You can be saved. You can be forgiven. But your life will always have trouble. Always have problems. You will not have that blessed life. Because it's like, you're past that time. And sometimes it happens to you and it's not even your fault. It's just the circumstances that's happened there. And this is what God would say to you when you're in these times and you're right with the Lord, but also you're living in turmoil. So the turmoil is either something that's come upon you or something that you caused yourself in just life itself. Because, following God, especially in today's time, you're going to have trials and tribulations. There are no ifs, ands, or buts. That has never stopped in the history of the world, because to be a good follower of the Lord, you have to be tried. Because if everything's super easy, you won't know how to, say no when the demons come around with temptations. But let's continue on here, verse 20. We acknowledge, O Lord, our wickedness and the iniquity of our fathers, for we have sinned against thee. Do not abhor us for thy name's sake. Do not disgrace the throne of thy glory. Remember, break not thy covenant with us. Are there any among the vanities of the Gentiles that can cause rain? Or can the heavens give showers? Art not thou he, O Lord, our God? Therefore we will wait upon thee, for thou hast made all these things. And that goes for everybody else. This includes me. Whenever I'm in these bad situations stuff, we're called to wait. And, we're to wait honorably. Wait with virtue. If you waiting with anger in your heart and stuff like that, which I've fallen into that and sometimes still do from time to time, because it's, like I said, I live alone. I never got to have a family, and it gets to you after a while, because that's one thing I always wanted in life was a family, and I didn't get it. And I'm not the only man out there that has to live this way. But it seems like I'm the only man in this area of mine that is living this way, because I can't really find other people living the same way, so I can have a group of friends where we can help one another. When a man has a family, he ain't got time for friends too much. These are just facts. But yeah, either or. Maybe soon I'll find some friends, or that's someone that does want to share life with me. Who knows? But yeah, we're called to wait. If you've done everything else and everything else is in order and stuff like that, and you're not really hearing from the Lord, a lot of times that answer when you ask about, hey, Lord, where are you? I'm waiting to hear from you. And this is what you hear. Wait. But, like I said, it's the end of chapter 14. I'm going to keep this one short. Shorter. We're under 30 minutes. So, that chapter was self-explanatory. It says, now we're coming into the times of the punishment is now, it was coming. Now it's here. For them, and of course they don't like it. They're wanting saved from this, and they're going to have to learn the hard way that there are consequences to bad decisions. This is why we read the Bible and other stories like this, is so we learn from other people's mistakes and says, hey, I don't want to ever be like that, so I don't want to get myself in these situations. This is what's called sharing wisdom and sharing testimonies. So, you got to remember to pray about these things. Pray for yourself. Make sure that you're on the right path and you don't have anything in your life keeping you from the Lord. Pray for others that they're not going through the same thing, because Satan's a great deceiver and has a lot of us blinded at times when we're doing wrong and don't know it. And we got to pray for the lost, because, the truth is a whole lot better than a state of delusion. You just have to get them to see it. So, until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.